Good morning and welcome to Real Estate Radio Denver, the most informative hour of radio of the weekend. And we're here every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on News Talk 710 KNUS. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Tom Souther. And Real Estate Radio Denver is dedicated to building Denver's housing and credit marketplace. We're here to give you that timely truth that we feel you're just not getting from the national news outlet. Sometimes not even the locals. You know, it's skewed. In so many different ways. So anyway, we're here to help rebuild that Denver marketplace. We do that one home at a time, hopefully yours, by giving you some great advice, a little education, connecting you with professionals that can help you, whether that's buying a home, selling your home. Maybe you've got a credit situation that you need a little help with. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, second half. Maybe you need a financial tip. So within every market, there's some fantastic solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice, and that's what you'll hear every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on News Talk 710 KNUS. So I want to always encourage you to call us. We're off air. Our number is an off air number. You can't reach us on during the show, but boy, I'd love to hear your messages. Get a text from you. Ask us a question. We'll bring it on next week. So that number again is 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. You can text to that number. You can leave me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to talk about mortgages. Man, it's a great time. Still, don't listen to the news about how awful it is. We're going to give you some interesting stats here in a minute. So please call. Also, check us out on Facebook. You can find us at Real Estate Radio Denver on Facebook, or the website is realestateradiodenver.com. There seems to be a pattern there. And boy, we just love to hear from you. So today we've got a fantastic show for you. I've got two great guests. One will be with us the entire show, and then I've got a gentleman coming in the second half to help us with credit issues and maybe talk a little bit about the negative side of what's going on and if you're having a credit problem. So first off, let's introduce Vivi Gloriod. Vivi is a regular show contributor, expert contributor. She is a real estate agent. She sells and helps a lot of people get through this process. Whether that's first-time home buyers, she is fantastic if you're looking to start investing in the market, in this interesting real estate market. She's with Cherry Creek Properties. Vivi, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Tom.
Absolutely. And we started kind of talking about what we wanted to talk about, what we wanted to share with people this morning about just what's going on in the market, because Denver is just, seems like booming. All over.
Yeah.
Yes, just booming. Everything going on at once. I know you went to an interesting seminar the other day and love to share some of that info.
Yeah, Ted Jones, who's a leading economist here in America, he's got his PhD, came and did a seminar here in Denver and just shared some really interesting information about why our market is doing so well. And it turns out that Denver has netted 39,100 new jobs in Denver Metro in the last 12 months. And that is why we're seeing an increase in our real estate and why prices are increasing. Sure. and why we don't have enough inventory. Because with 39,100 new jobs, we have immigration and we literally don't have enough housing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people coming here just because it's a fantastic place to be.
Oh, yeah. The air is great. The water's great. You can ski. You can golf. You can do that in the same day. I mean, life is good here.
Life is pretty good. So, yeah, we see a huge influx, a lot of new buyers that are coming in from wherever.
Right.
Do you see any place in particular that they're coming from? It seems like
it's interesting.
All over.
It is all over. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, but I've had a lot of Midwest people.
Well, you know what? I was going to say that because it is a great place to come from the Midwest. That's me. I grew up in Central Illinois and moved here 20 years ago. And it's amazing how many Midwesterners, Central Illinois, not a lot of people from there, but it's a good place to be from.
Absolutely. But there's not a lot of job opportunity there. I've got a couple moving here in December, and they just said they're let's see, he's 33 and she's 28. They both work in factories. They're educated, and they're doing backbreaking factory work. And I was like, let's move to Denver, do something different. Yeah. So that's what they're planning on doing.
Well, and you look at some of the towns. I spent a lot of time in Chicago before I moved here, and you look at the tax situation there, and it's just a great place to escape from.
Well, and speaking of taxes, this was really interesting. So Colorado is the 18th best business tax environment in America. Now that's down from last year. We were 15th, so bad for us. But being 18th is good, considering the fact that our quality of life here is so good. And I think that's what's driving the jobs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're working hard to get more business here. I think they can still work harder.
Absolutely.
Because I think you're seeing in the real estate market where there's not enough. There's not enough homes. I think we've seen a little tick up in rates, which has kind of affected how many people are looking.
Sure.
Which I don't think it should be.
No, I mean, anything under 6% is free money, as far as I'm concerned. Under 6 is free money. Denver right now has a 2.4-month inventory. And average nationally, they say the best inventory to have is 6 months. So when you have less than 6-month inventory, that makes it a seller's market. When you have over 6-month inventory, that makes it a buyer's market. So Denver being at 2.4 months, it's still a seller's market, but as far as I'm concerned, it's really both, because if you're not buying right now, every month you wait, real estate prices are increasing.
They're increasing, and rates are probably increasing as well.
My economist who came out said,
interesting.
Yeah, he said, mark my word, in 12 months, the lowest interest rate we'll be at is 5.6%.
Yeah, and I think that may be low.
Right. Oh, yeah, and that's what he said. He said more likely it'll be over 6 in the next 12 months.
I've definitely spoken with a number of mortgage industry leaders, and obviously that's what I do. I'm in the mortgage business, and many mortgage bank owners will predict closer to 7
in 12 months
in the next couple of years.
And in the next couple years.
And I don't know if that's high or not, and I certainly don't want to scare people, but it pains me to think that there are people out there who are saying, oh my gosh, I can't get that 3% rate or 3.5% rate, so I'm just not going to buy. When we're closing loans with almost no money down at 4.
Exactly.
Or in the mid-4s.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And I loved your program you did with our buyer, TJ. He was able to come to closing with $105 because Denver has that mortgage program that you offer. I don't think anybody else has it.
Very few lenders offer it, that mortgage, Metro Mortgage Assistance Plus program. It's a fantastic program, 4% grant, free money.
Right.
Very easy to qualify for.
You have to make. Is it less than 91,000?
It's about 91,000 for an individual. So most people are going to qualify that. Right. It's 100,000 if you're a small family, in ballpark figures here. And what a tremendous program it is to get in. Their requirement is you put in about 0.5% of your purchase price. So if you're looking at $200,000 purchase, it's $1,000.
That's crazy.
So it's crazy free money. And then the other thing we like to throw in, just get people thinking about how incredible it is as for first-time home buyers, is a product called a mortgage credit certificate. We did that on that deal as well. That gets a new home buyer anywhere from 50% to 20% of their interest that they pay every year as a direct tax deduction. Not a reduction of income like normal deductions are, but this would be you pay $5,000 in federal income tax, and now you would pay $2,000 less than that, using big round figures.
Right.
So there's so many reasons why, particularly for first-time home buyers, man, get into the market, make a call, and make that happen. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and I'm here in studio with Vivi Gloriod from Cherry Creek Properties. And we had a great little conversation about some of the increase in the job picture in Denver, and we really let's apply that to what does that mean to the real estate piece. And Vivi, I know you've got some data on how that's affecting what's going on in the market with home sales.
Right. So the leading economist in America, Ted Jones, came to Denver, and he said, rule of thumb right now in Denver is it's time to be overweight in real estate. He said, that doesn't mean I want you to liquidate all your 401ks and IRAs and put everything into real estate, but he said, any extra money you have, you should be invested in real estate. And he had a few rule of thumbs and why all of that is happening. But the big thing, like we said in the first segment, is that Denver has increased their jobs by 39,100 net jobs in Denver Metro. And so for every 1%...
Which is huge compared to the rest of the national.
Right.
I mean, I think there's very few locations, cities that are doing positive.
That. Right. And so...
Despite what the real
numbers are.
Yeah.
So 1% increase in jobs causes 2.12% increase in home sales. So if we've just increased 39,100 new jobs, he said over the next 2 years, unless that ceases, you're just going to see a direct, every month, real estate getting more expensive.
More demand every month.
And with a 2.4-month inventory, there's just not enough housing.
Well, and I have that conversation fairly regularly with my customers, as you do, that waiting is not really a good...
It's not smart.
Scenario. It's just not a good plan.
Well, also with interest rates rising. I mean,
Right.
if in 12 months from now we're looking at 5.6% interest, that's still really cheap, but why not get 4.5, which is where we're at now?
Right, but that's a $100 or $200 increase in your mortgage payment. So
Right.
if you're at the top of what you can qualify, you just knocked $30,000, $40,000 off of what you can qualify. And as prices are increasing, you're getting less for your money.
Right.
So it just makes no sense to wait.
Correct.
And the increasing rate piece, which we're just talking about, it just won't get better. So that the theory that, I wait for when X happens in my life, or,
Right.
I have a little more cash to put down. We just dispelled the myth that you have to have 20%, because we were just talking about a 0.5% down
Right.
To get into a home. If you're a veteran, wow. Absolutely. VA best loan out there with nothing down. And I want to throw in that Citywide Home Loans is running for the rest of this year an incredible special where we're going to waive our underwriting fee on any VA loan, or quite honestly, any loan for any veteran, whether it's a VA loan or not. So, again, there's no reason to hold.
Right.
For most buyers. Absolutely. You wanted to talk about QE. Gosh,
The elusive
quantitative
QE.
easing. And we need to give a little background on this, because I'm not sure that I totally understand it. So, but essentially, quantitative easing has been, the federal government has been buying in excess of $80 billion of mortgage bonds. For the
On
last
average,
year.
$85 billion per month until
month.
the economy improves.
Right, which is holding down rates.
Right.
We every month, last 2 or 3 months, there's been rumors that we're going to slow down on that, and we're going to stop or ease it off. And again, that happened again this week, and we saw an immediate negative impact to rates.
Right. With rates increasing.
Not massive, but some. Enough that it makes you go, oh, wow.
Well, and what the economist Ted Jones said was when quantitative easing ceases, what's going to happen is the stock market will go down and the rates are going to go up. And so,
And that's exactly what we've seen this week.
Right.
At the end of this week, stock market seriously down and, rates up a bit.
Right. But still cheap.
Still very cheap.
Yeah.
But I think, I have experts that I listen to as well on the rate market that also say, that quantitative easing slowdown is already reflected in what the bond market is. So I have some experts who will argue that in the short term we'll actually see a rate improvement in that immediately upon the announcement of quantitative easing.
Really?
Slowing down, but the long-term effect will obviously be
higher interest
rates.
Yep.
So, I think some of that effect's already in the market, because we've seen almost a full point increase in rates in the last month and a half to 2 months.
Right.
From the low 3s to the low 4s.
Right.
So I think that's reflected in the marketplace. So you're not too late
to
jump in. And I think we've got some great examples of that. of fantastic bargains in the grand scheme of things that we've closed in the last month.
Yeah. And I mean, the reality is, too, I mean, all the people that have purchased from us, if the end of the world happened and they lost their health or they lost their job or whatnot, they could rent out their home.
For more than their mortgage payment.
Kevin and Nikki, we just closed them, and their mortgage is $950 a month, and they'd be able to rent their house out for $2,000 a month all day long. So, it's one of those things where it's not smart if you're not buying, and if you are renting, that's definitely not good. But as an investor, it's great because rents are high.
Rents are high.
Denver Housing Authority says rents are going to increase 10% a year for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I use 8 in my estimates, and I'm thinking, gosh, that's a big number, and I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, well.
So they're saying 10.
Yep. I mean, right now with all the rentals I own, I increased everybody 10% this year, and everybody stayed. And they were happy with only a 10% increase.
Well, what are you seeing? I mean, you are a rental property owner.
Yes.
And what happens when you have a vacancy and you list one of your rentals?
I had one. I had a really nice couple. They needed 2 bedrooms instead of 1, and so they had to move on because I didn't have a 2-bedroom available. And that was this summer. And a little 1-bedroom condo I bought when I was 19 years old for $60,000. And I put it on the market for $1,000, and every single person, I showed 6 people, every single one of them filled out an application, every single one of them wanted the condo, so I had to pick who I liked the most.
Yeah.
Which was a really darling nurse who's moved here from Wisconsin.
And what was the time frame?
Oh,
a week?
It wasn't.
A day?
I actually had it rented before my renters even moved out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's the experience that most people are having who have decided to invest in real estate in the rental market.
Right. And it's my retirement plan. I'm going to get all my rentals paid off, and that's what I can, that'll be my cash flow for the month.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Social Security is going to be there for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a lot closer to it than you are.
You still might not get it.
I'm worried about it. I'm just at that age that they tell you, oh yeah, if you're over this age, you're going to be fine. And I'm like 3 years under that, and I'm just sweating it. But whatever. If it's there, great. If it's not, I'm not going to lose any sleep. But wow, yeah, promises are not kept easily. It seems. So. Vivi, you are, I think, one of the absolute best in this marketplace for matching people up with that property, whether that's looking for that investment property or that first home or the move-up buy.
Or the downsizing. I've had a lot of older couples downsizing. I just actually helped my neighbor sell his home, and they actually bought in Windsor Gardens. And they were just at my house a couple weeks ago, and they said, we never thought we'd be so happy downsizing to that amount. I mean, they went from a $400,000+ house to a $125,000 condo, and they're having more fun at Windsor Gardens than they ever thought they would.
You know what? I have downsized significantly, and I am just fine with not doing any of that house stuff anymore. Right. And I get it. I totally get it. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
If you have any questions on real estate or rentals or investing, give me a call. You can reach me at 303-847-1868. And you could also go to my website, teamvivi, it's VIVI.com.
Teamvivi.com.
Yep.
That's a new one. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what other was there? Oh, I know what we want to talk about. You brought up this whole Dodd-Frank issue, and
so Dodd-Frank's freaking me out, and what's going to happen because that's affecting you.
It should, it shouldn't freak you out so much. It should be freaking me out. But
so 972 new regulations for lenders in the next 24 months. Does that mean you're ever going to be able to close a loan?
This industry, the mortgage industry, has gone through so much change in the last 5 months. Many of it, 5 years, 7 years. Much of it that should have happened. There were some bad players, and a lot of them have been weeded out. The Dodd-Frank bill, I don't think, did anybody any huge favors in limiting this even more. So here's an opportunity for you to talk to your legislators about that bill in particular. Here's an interesting figure that our company came up with, because part of what they are forcing upon us is and I don't have the exact terms here, so bear with me, but that's going to limit what a qualified mortgage is. And if you're outside of that box, you have to go into a special box, essentially, of qualification that very few lenders are going to play in because it's going to be very, very, very highly regulated. And essentially, they are limiting what we would call our debt ratios, how much you can spend on a mortgage or your total amount of debt that you can do. And they're going to limit that down to about 43%. Right now, we're able to get mortgages approved much higher than that. So our company did some analysis and came up with a figure that about 20% of the mortgages we've approved in the last year would not be approved under this new Dodd-Frank Act. So that's how significant that number is.
And is that taking place right now? Has that already occurred?
It's going to happen in 2014. Okay. I'm not sure if it's going to be implemented first of that year.
So we still got a good strong 4 months.
Yeah, it will be in the next year, which is another reason that now is better than later.
Yep.
We're going to have significant number of people that we're just going to say, sorry, I can't get you a loan right now based on this new regulation. Our government's saying, no, we're not allowed to lend to you.
And it's funny because I look at that and say, okay, government, you'd rather these people pay double in rent
exactly
than half of what it would cost them down.
Yeah, so Big Brother just taking over our lives here on that issue. And we're going to do everything we can to get everybody we can qualified and mortgages for them. But some of these changes are pretty dramatic. So that's coming. What else in Dodd-Frank? Gosh, they're going to change again how our compensation works, and that's going to affect the industry. But we need to take a break. Vivi, we're going to come back, and we're going to spend some time on credit repair and credit issues. So come on back. Don't miss a minute. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther. We're going to take a little different direction this segment for the second half of the show. I've got a new guest with us. Let me reintroduce my first guest that's staying with us through this segment, Vivi Gloriod from Cherry Creek Properties. Vivi, welcome to the show. Back.
Thanks, Tom.
And I also have with me Andrew Trexler. Andrew's an attorney. Andrew focuses on credit issues.
Bankruptcy primarily. Bankruptcy is a great way to help people rebuild credit.
That bankruptcy word has such a negative connotation in the industry, and I like to put a good spin on that, and because it's a new beginning, it's a new start. But Andrew's with the law offices of Sharon Grossenbach. And Andrew, how long have you been in that space?
I've been with Sharon about 5 years. I've been practicing. I focus solely on bankruptcy, Chapter 7, 13, sue creditors sometimes when they run afoul of the bankruptcy laws.
No, I can't believe anybody ever does that. Really?
Honestly, most creditors are very respectful of folks after they filed bankruptcy. Yeah. Occasionally those slip up or make mistakes, and it's time. It's a good point to enforce this.
And you generally help consumers personal bankruptcies?
Yeah, that's correct. 7 and 13 is either of those chapters are the primary vehicle for folks looking for debt resolution under the bankruptcy code. We call it consumer bankruptcy law. We do help small business owners as well. We focus on individuals, whether they are just homeowners, landlords, consumers who don't own any property or don't own much in way of property with their financial issues through bankruptcy relief.
And your firm is a large filer. We have access to these numbers.
Top 5.
Definitely top 4 or 5 in the metro area, or in Colorado probably in general, since Denver is going to be the largest marketplace there. So you guys know this space. You do a lot of work to help consumers with these issues.
Yes, we file a few hundred a year. We have the staff to be able to give the attention needed to every bankruptcy, every filer, every person considering bankruptcy. Certainly, if you're looking at a bankruptcy, you definitely want to make sure that the folks that you're working with, the attorneys that you're working with, and I want to emphasize you do want to work with an attorney all the times in 99% of situations you want to hire an attorney. But we're going to give you the attention you need to get through your case and really get the most value out of your bankruptcy. That's an important thing for me, is once you've gotten to the point where you really need a bankruptcy, you want to get as much out of it as you can so that you can protect your assets, so you don't drain them before you file, and so that you can protect them to the best extent possible through bankruptcy.
Let's start at the beginning. What are some of the triggers or issues that you would advise your customers that they need to make a call to your office if they're experiencing, maybe they don't have to start a bankruptcy, but maybe they need to get some answers.
Right.
Because I think people wait too long. And maybe if you can help us with, what are some of the things to look out for if you're experiencing in your life that would make you want to make that phone call?
Yeah, unfortunately, people do wait too long because they usually, to be honest, hate the idea of a bankruptcy. They're not too excited about coming to see me.
I think it's an honor issue for many, many people.
I think so, yeah. A lot of there is that stigma that you mentioned, people that can see bankruptcy as a bad word or as a terrible thing. Really, bankruptcy is a pretty wonderful thing, to be honest, that happens at the end of a lot of terrible things in your life. Usually job loss, wage loss, a major accident or an extended illness, or divorce, separation.
I have a couple who just contacted me a couple days ago, and younger couple, they're in their 40s, and the husband had suddenly gotten cancer and had to go through all of this treatment, and he didn't have the proper insurance set up, and basically his medical bills got so extreme that they ended up defaulting on their mortgage that they owned and had decided to go through bankruptcy. And so I find that a lot of the people I help, and I help people do short sales instead of foreclosure, and we could talk about the reasons why.
Absolutely.
It's tons of them are medical.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed, and it's sad.
Yeah. Well, in my life, I throw out my personal situation every now and then. I lost my spouse just over a year ago, and I will tell you, one of the first appointments I made was with a bankruptcy attorney to talk about that, because it was a major loss of income in my household.
Right. And you weren't prepared.
And I wasn't as prepared as I should have been, and it also affected my ability to earn an income.
Sure.
So that was something that I did that I'm not sure many people would think of that and have that conversation. I chose not to go that route, but it was definitely an option at that point because of that situation. And
it's nice to have options.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that most people really make a valiant effort to do everything they can to pay their debts, because generally we want to pay our debts. And if you're in a situation that, when you take an honest look at your finances, you know that you need to file a bankruptcy, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get there. What I tell folks considering a bankruptcy is that if they take an honest look at their income and their expenses and their debt payment and what it's going to take them to pay that debt down, especially considering their interest rates, which for a lot of my clients, their interest rates on their credit cards are 21, 24%, their default rates. Yeah. And if you look at your finances and you don't see a way of being able to pay off your debts in a reasonable amount of time, usually a few years, it's best to move forward, or to at least look into a bankruptcy as soon as possible. And the thing is, people can do it easily and for free. I mean, we do a free consultation. I'm always happy to talk to somebody on the phone for 10 minutes, just giving a call in to see what their options are. Sure. A lot of people don't know anything about a bankruptcy, or all they know is that it's this bad word, but always happy to talk to them and see what makes the most sense. Usually when you're calling an attorney, it does make sense to file. It's getting there. That's the hard thing. Yeah,
and I think most people wait to have that conversation to the point that they've depleted most of their assets and your retirement accounts and all of these things, thinking, man, I've got to fight my way out of this.
A lot of people I meet with have drained their 401ks, which is a sad thing, because 401ks are protected in bankruptcy. They've drained their IRAs. Those are protected up to $1 million or so. Generally, retirement's protected. Generally, in Colorado, in the current market, your home is protected, or if you're above the homestead exemption, you can still use a Chapter 13 to protect your home. And what
is the homestead exemption?
Sure. So even though your bankruptcy is a federal right, you use Colorado state exemptions. Colorado allows you to exempt, which means to protect from your creditors, regardless of any debt you owe, allows you to exempt $60,000 equity in your home. If you're 60 years or older, if you're disabled, it goes up to $90,000. And I think for most people that are struggling with finances, they're within that range and they can protect it either through a Chapter 7. If they're above that, then we may need to look at other options, a Chapter 13 or possibly avoiding bankruptcy. But even in a lot of cases, they can still protect a home through a 13.
So you're seeing people able to keep their homes, oftentimes in a bankruptcy situation.
It's actually very rare that you would lose your home. I've had a couple clients who have chosen to let go of their houses so that they could let a trustee sell it and give them that check for $60,000. But yes, in almost all cases, if you want to keep your home, you can keep your home through bankruptcy. Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to spend a little more time, and we'll probably have to do this next segment, but talking about that short sale versus
foreclosure.
Throw in the real estate piece here versus foreclosure and how that affects in that bankruptcy situation, because I think there's
people don't know the difference, and it's interesting. Every time I talk to people, they're just amazed at what the difference is between what a foreclosure means to them and what a short sale does.
Right.
To their credit and to their long term, what they're able to buy in time and stuff like that.
Right. And there's a misconception too that a bankruptcy can take care of your situation credit wise when it comes to your house, that you can just surrender your home through a bankruptcy and that it solves the problem. But no, you still may want to look at issues, look at a short sale.
Yeah, there's a whole credit issue that has to go along with that. Besides, you've handed over the keys.
Right.
And there's
doesn't solve it always.
There's typically a more elegant way to make that happen. So you're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm in studio with Andrew Trexler with the law offices of Sharon Grossenbach and Vivi Gloriod with Cherry Creek Properties. I want to encourage you can reach the show at any time off air, 720-515-1818, 720 Gosh, I just lost that. 515-1818. But we're going to come on back. We're going to give you a lot more information on how to protect your assets in your home. Come on back. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and I'm here in studio with Andrew Trexler, with an attorney specializing in bankruptcy with the law offices of Sharon Grossenbach.
Hello.
And I also have Vivi Gloriod, a real estate agent with Cherry Creek Properties. And we're just helping to figure out some of the issues with bankruptcy and credit protection, and what can you keep, what can you not. Vivi, I know you had a story. Why don't you kick it off for us?
Well, I received a call from Ryan, who he and his wife own a townhouse and have moved into his wife's mother's home when he suddenly fell ill of cancer. And he's now healthy and back, but his medical bills were so great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother show. But he couldn't afford his monthly payment, so they moved in with her mom to get help and get through the health crisis. Well, he was all fine and good just to let it go through the bankruptcy. They were going to do a Chapter 7. And the lawyer that he was working with said, just so you know your options, you should just call Vivian so she can explain what the options are. And sometimes when I speak to people about it, they're fine with going bankruptcy and just letting it go. But the difference is this. Especially if you're younger, if you ever think you're going to buy another home, having a foreclosure on your record is far more detrimental. It means that you are unable to get a loan for 7 years. And with Denver Housing Authority say rents are going to increase 10% a year for the next 10 years, somebody going through bankruptcy, looking at that's scary to think, okay, it's going to be 7 years before I can even buy another home, as Ryan felt and his wife. And so he said, okay, then what's my other option? Your other option is you can catch up on your payments, which a lot of times is not possible because of all the other bills. And if that's not possible, the option is to short sale. So short sale basically means that we are going to put the home on the market for less than what you owe on it, and get it under contract, present it to the bank, and negotiate with the bank to accept less money than what you owe on the property, opposed to going to foreclosure and trashing your credit. And the difference credit-wise is foreclosure is immediate 300 points off of your FICO. Short sale is 50. So that right there is huge in itself, even if you want to buy a car, or you want to get a credit card in 12 months or anything like that. So I would encourage everybody, if you're financially having issues, give Andrew Trexler a call. If you have a house, don't just give it away to foreclosure. You do have other options. You really should. You really should.
No, walking away and handing somebody the keys or leaving the keys in the mailbox
is
or
often
whatever
not the best option.
Is just not.
I had another couple call me, and it was another medical issue. And he was 88. His wife was 87. They had a home, and I said, do you see yourself ever buying another home? And he said, no. And I said, then, and the other issue is they had an HOA. And so HOA, you have to still pay your HOA, even if you're in short sale. And so I, talking to them through it, I said, I don't know that short sale is going to be your best option. I said, I would wrap it up in your bankruptcy and give the keys away, because at your age, if you're just going to move to Tucson and rent a little bungalow on a golf course and, live life, then I wouldn't go through the pain of a short sale.
Definitely, though, if you're looking at a short sale and you're looking at a bankruptcy, you want to plan this out with your attorney and your realtor together.
Absolutely.
Because there can be some tricky legal issues with even being allowed to do a short sale while you're in bankruptcy.
Right.
And so you really have to look at where you are and what needs to take place first, if you need to protect yourself in bankruptcy right away, or if you can give yourself more time to short sale. Or
And the thing that I like and why lawyers like working with me is if you need to go through bankruptcy and you're thinking you would like to short sell your home, I always retain your lawyer. So my sellers never have to pay the lawyer in order to get their short sell home. I retain the lawyers to help them get the house out of bankruptcy, to strip it out. If you have any judgments, I retain them to do that. And so you're actually able to short sell your home and move forward with it.
Right, because a lot of times if you have judgment liens on your home, you can use bankruptcy to get rid of those.
Get rid of them.
Because you don't have to deal with that. It's just extra money to take care of.
And to me, I going through a short sale, I've just learned enough now that I always retain a lawyer on every single short sale.
Right.
That idea.
I think that's a fantastic idea. The thing on short sale versus foreclosure that I just like to drive home with people as well is that foreclosure, you typically take the bankruptcy out of this picture, but typically on a foreclosure, you are still liable for that shortage. At some point the bank's going to sell that home for something, probably less than what you owe on it, or you wouldn't be even thinking about this. And they can potentially come after you for a significant amount of time for that shortage.
Another reason to have your lawyer,
everybody involved get the right answers.
Exactly.
A short sale will
and I would never have anybody do a short sale where we are going to re-obligate them to any debt. And that's another reason why I always retain a lawyer, because we're going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's something I bring up with anybody looking at a short sale. Don't sign a promissory note.
Exactly.
File this bankruptcy that puts you on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars.
Benefits of short sale, you get to start over quicker than just letting it go to foreclosure. It also avoids public humiliation. Kids are cruel.
That's a big piece.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Here's their family. A lot of people stay in the neighborhood because they want their kids to go to the same school and everything else. A short sale looks like a regular sale. Sign goes up, get it under contract, sell it, they move, they can stay there, needing to move for any reason they want. Exactly. But foreclosure, those banks are ruthless. They'll put a big old banner across your garage, foreclosure. Everybody in the neighborhood knows that you just went through foreclosure. And again, I can't tell you how many stories. Kids are cruel. You have a 10-year-old going to 4th grade and their friends ride by after a foreclosure on their bikes, and everybody in school knows that your family has had financial issues, the children are cruel, etc. So that's one of my things. If we can avoid public humiliation and just make it look like a regular sale, that's the way to do it.
And as we've already said, most of the time that is caused by or is led by an event that was out of your control.
Exactly.
A job loss.
Dad got sick. You don't know.
A medical issue, something.
Yeah, in addition to what you mentioned, Vivi, on short sale versus foreclosure, if you just let it go into foreclosure and you wait for a while, still your house for what could be a long time, for several months to well over a year, and you're on the hook for HOA dues.
Right.
You're on the hook for potentially the water bill or the electric bill afterwards, for premises liability that you should have a homeowner's insurance policy for. So all problems. All
problematic. Water's interesting in Colorado, too, because water's actually tied to the property. So water can be just yet another judgment against, if you're not paying your water bill, which is...
Right, let's put a lien on your home for it.
More problems.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I have with me Andrew Trexler, an attorney specialized in bankruptcy with the law offices of Sharon Grossenbach, and Vivi Gloriod with Cherry Creek Properties. And we're talking about credit issues and how to start that process of finding out, does it make sense for you to file bankruptcy? Does it make sense to look at a short sale? These are all issues that many of us deal with at some point in our life. And we want to take that stigma away from it, make it not such a negative, because those laws are there to help you. They were written into our system on purpose.
It's in the Bible.
It's a reset button that is
right.
Absolutely your right and legitimate. And, boy, it really can help your family get out of situations that are unforeseeable. I don't think any of us plan to get in over our heads, but it just sometimes happens. Andrew, tell me how we can get a hold of you to get that consultation,
Sure.
to get those questions answered. Maybe bankruptcy is not the right way for you, but maybe it is.
Yeah, and a lot of times I can tell people after talking to them 5 minutes or so, bankruptcy is probably not a good idea, but we can get to that pretty quick. You can give us a call, 303-571-0077. Happy to talk with you for 5 or 10 minutes over the phone. Anybody else with our staff, most of the folks on staff can help you out for a little while. And we give a free consultation as well, 45 minutes or so.
Sure.
Just take a look at your whole situation, see what makes the most sense, and get the ball rolling on filing if it's a good idea for you.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are pushing anybody into a bankruptcy or foreclosure or short sale without the need. But
and the biggest issue I see with people is they wait too long.
They do.
People, because they're embarrassed by it, so they wait too long. It costs no money and just a few minutes of your time to pick up the phone and see if it's the right thing to do before you drain your 401k, IRA, and everything else. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Andrew, what are some of the other pieces that people should be keeping in the back of their head that they might be able to protect? We've talked about, some equity in the home. And you had a great story. I want to get to that story about your, the difference between Chapter 7 and 13 and how you can leverage that.
Right. So in Chapter 7 is called liquidation bankruptcy. The idea is that you may have to turn over assets because you're not paying anything on your debts in Chapter 7. The reality is, in Colorado anyway, if you have a well-planned Chapter 7, you don't lose anything. You can protect $5,000 equity in a vehicle. If you're a married couple, it moves up to $10,000. If you're 60 or older or disabled, you double that exemption. You can generally protect the things that you own in your home, televisions, computers, furniture, clothes. And as I mentioned earlier, you can protect your home up to $60,000 or $90,000 in value. So most folks, if they're working with an attorney to plan out a case and they have been being garnished recently, they can go through a Chapter 7 and not turn over anything. One really nice thing about Chapter 13, one really helpful thing, especially in the current real estate market with appreciating home values, is that if you have to worry about your property appreciating, or if you're above the allowable Colorado exemptions, you don't have to turn over any of that that you may lose in a Chapter 7 as long as you file a 13. Had a couple I helped recently really struggling with finances. They tried to open up a business and were really struggling to get that off the ground, and it was resulting in a lot of debt. There was no way they were going to be able to pay it outside of bankruptcy in any reasonable period. And so we looked at their situation. Certainly a filing made sense. They owned a rental property though, and I mentioned the homestead's exempt, but your rental properties are not protected.
So homestead, where you
correct, yeah,
the
where
home
you
you're living
live,
in.
where your children live, or where dependents live. But if it's just a renter, in your
An
home,
investment property.
it's not protected at all. In fact, their adult children were living there, and so it was something that was very valuable to the family, but it also wasn't going to be protected. So the Chapter 13 was really a much better option for them, and we got them. We got a very, very affordable payment for them because, as I said, in Chapter 13, you can protect everything you own as long as you pay what the value of what you would have to turn over in Chapter 7, and you get up to 5 years to do that. And so we had very affordable payments, allowed them to keep every dime of equity in that rental property, keep their their adult children's home safe from creditors,
and have a payment plan that they could live with and fit within their budget, so
Absolutely.
they could move on and rebuild their
Some
life.
tax debt as well. You can save money on taxes. On 13, you can also use 13 to get caught up if you've fallen behind on payments on your home or on your rental property. Lots of great advantages to 13 when 7 doesn't make sense for you, and when you're not able to do a 7.
Perfect. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and man, I want to thank my two guests for coming in today. We've got Andrew Trexler with the law offices of Sharon Grossenbach and Vivi Gloriod with Cherry Creek Properties. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about how to protect some of your assets and what some of the triggers are to make you make that call. Gosh, I would love to put you together with either of these two experts. You can reach me off air. I'd love to put you together. You can reach me at 720-515-1818. Again, 720-515-1818, and I'll connect you with either Vivi or Andrew. Come on back next week. We got a fantastic show for you again. Thanks. Bye-bye.